Hi, welcome to Fusion Beads. I'm Lindsay Burke. Today we're going to be making the Gilded Patchwork Bracelet. This bracelet is made using one of my favorite techniques, bead looming. It's created in little sections like a patchwork quilt and then finished with some chain and a lobster claw, making it a great, easy gift to give. Okay, let's take a look at the products used to make this bracelet. To make this bracelet, I'm going to be using size 11 Delica seed beads. I'm using one of our exclusive Fusion Beads mini palettes in the Heritage colorway. The palette includes 5 colors in transparent pale aqua mist, luminous warm almond, luminous dusky blue, matte opaque glaze gray, matte opaque glaze rainbow pistachio. Then I'm also using size 11 semi-matte galvanized honey gold and size 11 matte 24 karat gold plated Delica beads. These 2 gold beads will add a metallic pop to my design. To finish it, I'm going to be using 3 inches of the 4.5 millimeter cable chain, a lobster claw clasp, 2 base metal slide end tubes by Miyuki, 2 gold plated jump rings, clear FireLine in 6-pound, and I've already wound it on a bobbin. And then for my tools, I'll be using size 11 needle, my Xuron thread and fiber scissors, and of course my beading loom. I'm using the Ricks Beading Loom today, but you can use any loom that you feel comfortable with. You can find all of the links for these products in the description below. Okay, let's get started making the bracelet. I've got my loom all set up. I've gone ahead and done 12 warp threads. I'm going to have 11 rows of beads in here, so I'm going to need 1 more warp thread than I need my beads. So I've got 12 warp threads, and I'm using the Ricks Beading Loom here. You can use any loom that you've got that you prefer, and you want to check your manufacturer's instructions for setting it up. For the Ricks loom, we have another video that you can refer to on how to set it up. Here I've got a warp separator. This is just the way the Ricks loom starts. If you lose your warp separator that comes with the loom, you can go ahead and use your standard business card. And I've got that started here. I've also got my needle already threaded with my thread and attached and ready to go. As you can see, I've got my pattern over here. And this piece, being it's the Gilded Patchwork Bracelet, the way I designed it is I've made little squares or rectangles of different patterns, as you can see, kind of going through the pattern. I'm going to work from the bottom up. I've also, at the very end, if you can see, just have several rows with no pattern. This is because the loom can be set up for the correct length, but if you need to add extra rows in my pattern, I've got it here so we can just add a whole row of the blue if we need to. So I'm going to start, I've started by setting up the loom to make a 5.5 inch piece of loom work. Okay, we're going to start at the bottom of our graph paper. And what I like to do is either cross off the line that I'm working on, or I'm going to use a post-it note to mark which line I'm working on next so I don't lose my place here. Okay, so since I've got 11 beads going across, it looks like I need to pick up 11 of the gray beads first. Okay, and then with the loom, you're going to come up underneath your warp threads, and you're going to make sure to place 1 bead in between each of the warp threads. And I like to use my finger underneath here on my left hand to support them, keeping them in place in between each of those warp threads. And then I use my thumb to kind of pinch that thread down so the beads really pop up. To do loom work, you want to make sure that you're trapping your beads with the weft thread, the thread going back and forth, in between your warp threads. So I've got my needle here. I'm going to go ahead and pull, and I'm going to turn right back around with my needle. My beads are all popped up at the end here, and I'm going to go back through my beads, making sure to go over my warp threads. So again, I'm trapping the beads in between the warp threads with my weft thread. Okay, and then I just go ahead and pull my beads or my thread all the way through and pull tight and butt it down to your warp thread separator or business card. You can see that they all stay on. Looming is a great technique because it goes fast. You're adding 11 beads at a time, which is great. So not one bead at a time, you're doing all 11 across. So now that I'm done with that last row, I went ahead and moved my Post-it note up. Again, if the Post-it note doesn't work for you, you can cross it off. A lot of people like to use a pen and just mark off their row so they know exactly which row they're on. Okay, so adding another 11 gray. Make sure that I have enough here. All 11. Okay, come up again, going underneath the warp threads, coming up in between. They pop right in there. Use my left finger for support. My thumb is pushing down on those warp threads to help pop those beads up in between the warp threads. Bring my needle through and bring it back towards the left. Again, trapping those beads right in between the warp threads. And then go ahead and pull my thread nice and tight all the way through. Okay, now for the Ricks Beading Loom, the way you want to use your warp separator is, now that I've got a couple rows on, I can go ahead and remove this and slide my beads down to the bottom. And this is going to be a little bit different for every loom. So again, make sure that you check how your manufacturer suggests setting up your loom. So I've got the first 2 rows done here. And again, moving it up on my graph. I'm going to go ahead and do 1 gray, 2 or 4 of the dark blue, 1 gray, and then 4 of the almond, and 1 more gray. And then again, come up underneath. Put all those beads right in between each of the warp threads. Use my thumb to make sure that those threads are nice pushed in there. And come back through with my needle. And back through. Okay, a couple things I want to point out is that I am using a size 11 beading needle. They do make, and we do carry, loom needles that are quite a bit longer than mine. I prefer working with a shorter needle for this width of beadwork here. If I'm working with something wider, I'm going to want to use the loom needle that probably is about 3 inches long. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that this graph paper is available for you in our instructions online, and you can go ahead and print this out at home. Okay, so now I've done that row, the 3rd row. And again, move my Post-it note up. And I know I need to work on this row next. So 1 gray, 1 blue, 2 of this green pistachio color, 1 more blue, another gray, again the almond, and then 2 of the light blue, almond, and gray. And then come up underneath the warp threads, bring my needle through, pass it back through over the warp threads, making sure to trap them in there, and then pull my thread through. You can see this pattern is coming together really nicely. And pull that nice and tight. See how fast that's coming? We're following the pattern. What I'm going to do is go ahead and keep following my pattern, and then I'll show you how to end this off. I've done several rows, and now working with a Ricks loom, I wanted to give you a tip. Your loom might be a little bit different, but for the Ricks loom, the genius, the beauty of this is that there's 2 warp threads that you need to work in at the end versus all 12 warp threads. So in order to make this happen, the magic at the end, it is recommended that you actually pull all of these rows down. So as you saw before, they were nice and even. And now I'm just bringing them down as tight as I can. So bringing my beads down. As you can see, let me show you a little gap that I've got. You see how much gap there is? I'm bringing it down quite a bit, nice and tight. And that's going to help us at the end when we pull it off of the loom. I'll show you that magic in a little bit. So now I've got all of this nice and tight. And you'll see me do this throughout. I'll do a few more rows and I'll pull down again. Few more rows and pull down again. Okay. All right. Now that I've done that, I can go ahead and continue beading. Okay, I'm getting close to the end of my beadwork here. You can see that I am about 2, 4, 7 rows away from the end according to my pattern. I don't know if I'll make it all the way and be able to fit all of the rows here, but I'll try. This is why I like to end a lot of my patterns with stripes like this that don't really have a strong pattern that I need to follow. But that way that I can eliminate a row or add rows if I need to. Okay, at this point, I've only got a little bit of thread left, which is not going to finish my beadwork. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to work in a new thread and end this one off. First off, I want to again make sure all my beads are brought down nice and tight. So I'm going to do that one more time here, all the way through. They're looking pretty tight to me. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my needle, and all I'm going to do is pass back through the last 1, 2, maybe 3 rows with my thread. Going all the way through, trying to stay on top of the warp threads if possible. Okay, so going through the second row back, and then I'm going to go back through the next row down, and maybe one more. Okay, and that's it. And I can, when it's all done, work the rest of this thread in a figure 8 pattern, looping back over other threads so that you are really cinching and reinforcing this thread, tying it off. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take my needle off. And I've got a new thread. Again, my needle is on, a new thread. And I'm going to start where we ended coming out. So I'm going to go, again, follow it back this way on the 4th row, to the right on the 3rd, to the left on my 2nd. Okay, so now I've got my needle with my thread on it, and I'm going to start coming in one row back from where I came out of. So I'm just going to start right here, go in, going to the left, make sure I have a little bit of tail, skip up to the next row, so I'm working towards the end where I need to start adding my rows again. And then back through that last row one more time. Again, trying to keep the needle above the warp threads if possible. Okay, and now I'll continue on with my pattern. Got 11, so these are my solid stripes. And as you get to the end of your pattern with the Ricks, it's a little bit more difficult to get into this tight space because of the warp rod here. So you just need to be patient and make sure that you've got all of your beads popping up on the top of the warp threads. Pull through. One more of that pistachio color, 11 of them. Again, this is probably the most difficult part because those warp threads want to come apart. So be patient. Make sure that your beads are all coming up in between the warp threads there. And passing that needle over the warp threads. Be patient, like I said, going through each bead carefully, one at a time, making sure they're all in there. Oops, it looks like I have one too many beads here. Yep, one too many beads. Okay, we'll try that again. So this pattern is kind of fun because when I build it, when I create it, I really think of it as little squares or rectangles. So as you saw, I had an arrow, I had some stripes, I had some little boxes. So I'm really creating by section when I design it. Okay, 11 of the gray. And making sure to pull those beads down, go under, and again taking your time to push all of those beads up in between those warp threads. Going over the warp threads with your needle. There we go. Okay, I don't think I'm going to get any more beads in this one. I think I might be able to. Let me see if I can pull it down just a little bit more and see if we can fit one more in there. If not, we might need to call it good. Yep, we might need to call that one good. I think we are as close to that rod as we're going to get. It's going to be too difficult to get those beads in there. Okay, so let me show you how to end off this thread and the magic of the Ricks Beading Loom. I'm going to move my pattern aside. Okay, so when we're done, like I said, we've got all of our beads kind of wobbly and wrinkly from us pulling it down. And we are going to take the beadwork off of our warp rod just by pulling off the little stoppers and pulling the warp rod off. I'm going to set that aside. You can see these loops right here are still there from the warp rod. So what I need to do is roll in between my fingers the beadwork to kind of cinch up the loops that are there. Now normally I would also take off this side and show you that, but all the threads would get in the way. So I'm just going to show you the one side right now. So I just kind of roll and massage the beadwork, and you can see how those loops are starting to disappear already. Kind of cool, huh? All right, and I'm just working from the center out because we have to do the same on the other side. And you can see right now my beadwork's starting to lay flat. My beads are side by side. Instead of down here, you can see that they're all wobbly and not laying flat. And my loops are disappearing. Isn't that cool? Okay. So I'm going to take this off the loom completely on this side, massage this side, and I'll be right back to show you how to finish up the rest. Okay, as you can see, I've gone ahead and massaged out the whole bracelet. All the loops on this side have disappeared, and same with this side. I've still got my little pegs attached on this side so my threads don't get tangled. I'll be working those in at the end. Right now, this was our last thread, our working thread that we were working with. So we're going to want to weave this thread in and down through the beadwork to tie it off. So let me show you that. So it's coming out of this row. I'm going to want to go in the next row, down, trying to go all the way across, pull tight, and then I'm going to go one more time through that very last row just to reinforce it. This is where our Miyuki end bar is going to be, so we want to make sure that that's nice and strong. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and weave down through several rows. And back to the third row down. Again, down another, and you can see these other ends that we had. This was our ending and start of new thread that we had in there. We'll also work those in. And keep going down. And I like to go up one more time every so often, just so I'm making a loop with my thread so it's going over itself. Okay, and then back through, and that should be just fine. Okay, and then with my Zuron thread scissors, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I get a nice close cut. Okay, then I'm going to do the same with all of my other threads. So this was the threads that were the beginning and end of a new piece of thread. So I'll work those in. We've already worked them in a little bit, so it shouldn't be too many rows. Then on the other side, we'll do the same thing. I've got my 2 warp threads and then my start thread that I need to work in here as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take care of that, and then I'll be right back to show you how to end and add the clasp. Okay, as you can see, I've worked in all of my threads, and I'm left with just the beadwork here. I have about, let's see how much beadwork we have. Just about 5 1/4 inches of beadwork right there. Okay. Now this will not fit around a wrist as is unless you've got a really tiny wrist. So what I like to do is add chain and a lobster claw to the end of this, and that's going to make it adjustable and be great for gift giving or anything, so you don't have to know the wearer's wrist size. Okay, so we're going to be using the Miyuki slide ends. These are the 15 millimeter, and they fit perfectly with 11 size 11 Delicas. Right there, you can see how it matches up. Okay, so let's take a look at this slide end. It's got 2 tabs, one on each side, and then the loop. And then there's also a slit right here where the beads slide in. So to use this, you want to fold this tab down. So we're going to use our chain nose pliers here. Just grab the tab and go ahead and bend it down. It moves pretty easily there. And just close it up. And then you've got one side open. I'm going to go ahead and take that last row of beadwork and slide it right in. So that last row gets hidden. So if it's important to your pattern, you're going to want to make sure that you have an extra row in your pattern if you need. Okay, you can see how nicely that fits right there. And then we're going to go ahead and close this tab the same way using our chain nose pliers and just bending it down. I like to just push on it a little bit. I don't want to break any of my beads. And there we go. It's on there, nice and strong. You can see I can pull on it. It's not going to come off. Okay. Okay. So to attach the other side, you're going to do exactly the same thing. Fold that tab down. Slide the other end in. And as you can see in this pattern, this was my start, and this is a perfect little rectangle, and I added that extra row of gray right at the beginning, knowing that that one was going to be hidden. So that's what I'm talking about when you're designing your pattern. Make sure that you know that that last row is going to be hidden on both sides if you're going to be using the Miyuki end bars. Okay, and then again, just fold that other tab down. There's no need for glue or anything, and that's secure. There you go. Then we're going to need to add the chain and the lobster claw to both sides. Okay, to attach our jump rings, I'm going to need 2 chain nose pliers. I'm going to pick up the jump ring, grab one side of my jump ring with one pair of chain nose, and another chain nose grabs the other side, and then I just rotate to open. Okay, grab the Miyuki end, the loop, put the jump ring in there. Then I'm going to pick up my clasp, attach the clasp, and then close the jump ring up, going back and forth. You can see that the edges are wiggling and you kind of heard that click sound. That means those 2 edges of the jump ring are rubbing up against each other and are nice and tight. No space there. Okay, we're going to do the same for the other side. So again, picking up the jump ring, your other pair of chain nose, rotate the one side towards you, attach to the Miyuki end, and then the chain of your choice. And I cut this chain to about 3 inches, so it'll give me a good range for anybody with a 6-inch to an 8-inch wrist. Okay, and there you have it. That's attached. And there you have your Gilded Patchwork Bracelet. You can find all the supplies for this at fusionbeads.com, as well as other inspiration projects and techniques.